Yeah, I'm Jeremy Shada, voice of Finn the Human from Adventure Time.
Okay, so how did you become like a voice actor?
Yeah, so I started just acting in general when I was about like 5 or 6 years old. I live in California, and I always had a big interest in movies and TV shows. I always loved watching as a kid, so I always wanted to do it. And so I went into an agent, and I started with like commercials and little tiny co-star and guest star parts on TV shows and stuff. And the agency I was with had a voiceover department, and they started sending me out on like radio commercials and those types of things. And I just kind of worked my way up over the years, and eventually I started doing more, voice acting for animation and such and such. And so, however many years later, when I was about 12, I obviously got to land Adventure Time, which was pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah, no, that's pretty cool. So, did you just get the role of like Finn through that?
No, I mean you have to. Obviously, you have to audition. Yeah, you have to. There's a long auditioning process for pretty much everything. And so for me, actually, my older brother Zach played the voice of Finn or Penn in the original short. It was like a Nickelodeon short.
Yeah, I think I saw that.
Yeah, and 3 years later, because Nickelodeon didn't pick it up, 3 years later Cartoon Network picks it up. I think they probably assumed that his voice changed or whatever. And so after that, I auditioned and my voice sounded just like his when they were starting the show. And I kind of tweaked it a little bit too because I was 12. And then I started doing it, and after going back a couple times, I got the job, and nobody knew I was his younger brother until the first day of recording. They just thought they got extremely lucky with someone who, I guess, sounds just like the original. And so since then, the voice has progressed, and it's gone on for a long time, but it's been me ever since then. So for the actual entirety of the series, it's all me for the past, I think, 7 years now.
That's like a pretty long time.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, for any show, it's long, but even especially for anime shows, it's really long. Yeah.
And I assume that it's gonna keep going because there's so much.
As far as I know right now, it is still continuing to go. So yeah, there's no end in sight right now, which is great.
Yeah, that's awesome. So do you have any theories or anything about what might happen next, or anything you want to happen?
Well, because of how animation works, I'm probably about almost a year ahead of you guys as far as what we're recording and what you guys are seeing.
That's right, yeah.
So I do know what's happening next. I just can't really say what's happening next. I can tease very generic stuff though, so I can say, I'm pretty sure I can say that we're going to have more of the kind of 8-part miniseries coming up in the next season. I think we have 1 or 2 of those. And so that'll be a lot of fun. These ones will be a little bit more centered on Finn, which will be really, really cool. And not just Finn, other characters as well, but Finn's more central to these ones as far as the story goes. And beyond that, I can't really say much. You're going to start to see, I think, more backstory, of course, more of the origins of this post-apocalyptic world, and it's about as much as I can say, unfortunately.
No worries, that's pretty cool. So I know that you're in a band as well, so how are things going with that?
Fantastic. Ironically, my brother, who I mentioned earlier, who did the original voice, is in the band with me. So to me, him and 2 other guys are good friends, John and Seth, and we've been doing, we've all been doing music for a very, very, very long time. We started this band in particular about two and a half years ago, I think. And it's going great. We have our first EP up on iTunes and Spotify, and we've been doing a lot of shows, just touring around different places. We did a couple shows here in Australia, I think about a year ago. Did some shows in Europe recently, Vegas, LA, all over. And right now we're actually in the middle of recording our first full-length album. So once I get back from Australia, we basically go right back in the studio and finish that out. So so fingers crossed, it's coming out awesome. I've heard more than half of it at this point, so it sounds really great. I don't know when the release date will be, but sometime soon, the next year or so.
And you guys will probably be planning a tour for that?
I would think so, yeah. We'll figure out the release strategy and all that later, but yeah,
it'd be cool to have you come back to Australia.
I'd love to, yeah, of course.
Yeah, no, that's pretty cool. So we have one last question for you.
What's my favorite color?
No.
Blue.
Oh,
yeah.
same then.
Yeah, there we go.
If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Oh, that's hard. I want all of them. I'm greedy. Probably, I actually think I would do...
I mean, if you're a shapeshifter that could shapeshift into other people
that would be
powers.
Pretty freaking cool, yeah. If I could do that, or I think invisibility would actually be really awesome. Because I feel like I could just have a lot of fun with invisibility and just mess with people. That'd be my. You could prank a lot of people. That'd be my favorite thing. Get into some mischief with invisibility for sure, definitely.
Awesome. Thank you so much
for
allowing us to interview you.
No problem.
Awesome.
See you later.